Hey guys, it's Vincent here, and I've got two great mid-range phones to compare with you guys today, the Google Pixel 6 and the Samsung Galaxy S20 FE. I've actually reviewed both of these phones in depth already, so if you want more information about each phone after watching the video, you can check out the full reviews in the description below or up here. Anyways, the Pixel 6 came out in October last year for $599, while the Galaxy S20 FE is a little older and came out in 2020 for $699. However, because it's been over a year, the S20 FE has actually dropped in price to $499 brand new, or just over $400 renewed. Carriers also have a lot of discounts and special promotions for this phone, which makes this a great deal. So naturally, many of you guys looking for a mid-range phone would ask, which of these two phones are the better buy? That's not an easy answer, so let's get started. Starting off the design and hardware, the Pixel 6 looks modern and sleek with its two-tone glass back, which is pretty slippery, and a giant horizontal camera bar, which I personally like as it's definitely very eye-catching and unique. A great thing about this camera bar is that there's no more wobble when the phone is on a table, and it also acts as a ledge for your finger to rest on when holding the phone. The buttons are also super clicky and satisfying to use. This phone also comes in three colors: Stormy Black, Seafoam Green, and my favorite, Kinda Coral. The S20 FE on the other hand looks quite outdated already, especially with that tiny camera bump in the corner. The back is also made out of plastic, which is more durable but isn't very premium feeling. The buttons are a little mushy compared to the Pixel, but the curved edges and smooth matte finish make the phone more comfortable to hold in the hand. And despite it being the same size as the Pixel, it's 17 grams lighter, which is pretty noticeable, especially when using the phone for a long time. And for this phone, you have way more color choices to pick from. There's Cloud Green, Lavender, Orange, Red, White, and the one I have, Cloud Navy. Switching over to the front of the phones, both of them are rocking very similar setups. The 6.4-inch screen on the Pixel 6 and the 6.5-inch screen on the S20 FE are both 1080p, and both of them have a hole punch for the selfie camera. They both have equally slim bezels, both displays are vibrant and punchy, and while the Pixel's display is a little brighter, they both are a little hard to see outdoors. Both the phones also have fast refresh rates, but the 120Hz on the S20 FE makes the 90Hz on the Pixel look a little sluggish in comparison. The Pixel does make up for this with smoother animations in the Pixel Launcher compared to One UI. Another area where the Pixel takes the win are the haptics. The vibrations feel sharp, precise, and have just the right level of tactility. The S20 FE isn't horrible by any means, but it feels a little light and springy. Both phones also have dual speaker setups which sound great. Being the newer device, the Pixel 6 has a more balanced sound signature that can get a little bit louder and does sound slightly better, especially for music. The S20 FE is a little tinny and muffled sounding by comparison. But the S20 FE also has Dolby Atmos support, which makes watching videos, movies, or playing video games a more immersive and overall a better experience. Now, here's where there's a huge difference between the phones: the unlocking experience. Not gonna lie, the in-display fingerprint scanner on the Pixel 6 is just a horrible experience, especially with the screen protector. I'm sure you guys have heard complaints about it from other reviewers or on social media, and it's really that bad. And to make matters worse, there's no face unlock to make up for it. So half the time I have to use the pin to unlock the phone, which is really annoying. Luckily, the older Samsung phone has both a more reliable fingerprint scanner and has face unlock, which makes the phone much more enjoyable to use. And finally, we get to the performance. Now, for day-to-day use, both these phones are way more than enough to use, and you can get by either of them with no issues at all. But for those of you who really care about getting the most for your money, here's what I found. They both have flagship level chips with the Tensor chip on the Pixel and the Snapdragon 865 on the Samsung. In general, I find the Pixel 6 to open apps half a second faster than the Samsung, and games perform a little smoother too, but honestly, they're both really fast and you can only tell if they're side by side. For those of you spec geeks looking at Geekbench scores, the Pixel 6 does beat out the Samsung in single core scores and also has a pretty big lead in 3D Mark for the GPU performance. Battery life on the phones are also pretty good, with a 4600 mAh battery on the Pixel 6 and a 4500 mAh battery on the Samsung. I think the Pixel 6 edges out the S20 FE ever so slightly, especially when doing high intensity tasks, but both the phones should last you about a full day. I average around 5 to 6 hours of screen on time with the S20 FE and anywhere between 5 to 7 hours of screen on time with the Pixel 6. Unfortunately, neither of these phones have any real fast charging, with the Pixel maxing out at 21 watts and the Samsung at 25. They both should get you to around 50% in half an hour though. Wireless charging on the Pixel 6 is a little bit faster than the S20 FE though, at 23 watts but only with the new Pixel stand, compared to a maximum of 15 watts on the S20 FE. And finally, both of these phones have reverse wireless charging, which definitely comes in handy. Before we get into the camera comparisons, we do have to talk about software though, which could be the deal breaker between these two phones. Both of these phones have been updated to the latest firmware and are both running Android 12. Starting with the Pixel 6, the Pixel Launcher is one of my favorite Android skins, and it looks beautiful with the new Material You design. Animations and general navigation around the UI is buttery smooth, and there are just so many small little touches in the UI that really add to the experience, such as a little bobbing effect when you get to the end of content, or the way the black fades in and out from the power button when you click it. It's also full of smart features that can only be found on the Pixel, such as call screening, which lets Google Assistant take the call instead to help you avoid scam calls, and my favorite feature, voice typing. Thanks to the AI improvements in the Tensor chip, Google is able to make transcriptions incredibly fast and accurate and all offline. It can even fix grammar mistakes, do auto punctuation, and even send by voice. That being said, there is a major issue with the Pixel, and that has to do with bugs and stability issues. It's such a shame with Google being the creator of Android that even after 5 months of updates, there are still a ton of bugs present, and sometimes updates just make it worse. For example, in the recent February update, a lot of people started to encounter Wi-Fi connection issues where the phone would just flat out refuse to connect to Wi-Fi. There are also other bugs still present on the phone, such as the system UI has crash notification when it doesn't actually crash anything, stuttering or crashing in some apps, tabs registering randomly when I don't tap the back of the phone, and the rotate icon just not appearing at all sometimes. I sometimes can't even pick up a call even though I'm swiping on it, and have faced plenty of drop calls, which is really annoying. Meanwhile, on the S20 FE, One UI 4.0 runs beautifully stable with absolutely zero bugs and crashes. Navigation around the phone feels fluid, animations are smoother than ever, and heavy tasks like gaming or using a camera don't bog the phone down. Now, to be clear, I'm still not a fan of One UI itself, as I find it a bit clunky and ugly, but it's still better than a buggy experience. One UI 4.0 brings the new Material You theming, a cleaner looking camera UI, and some phone optimization features. One thing that's really bothering me is in fact the new notification system. For some reason, Samsung's removed the conversations, notifications, and silent categories, so it's all jumbled up now. They're also now compact, which makes it hard to see details at a glance, and just looks ugly in my opinion when everything in the rest of the UI is so spaced out. But anyways, whatever skin you like is your own personal preference, and I can't decide that for you. Just know that in the current state, the Pixel 6 is a very frustrating phone to use due to the amount of bugs that keep occurring with each update. Now that's all out of the way, we finally have the cameras to talk about, which seems to be the main focus of newer phones these days. The Google Pixel 6 is equipped with a dual camera setup on the back, with a new larger 50 megapixel main sensor and a 12 megapixel ultrawide camera. On the S20 FE, there's actually a triple camera setup with a 12 megapixel main sensor, 12 megapixel ultrawide sensor, and an 8 megapixel 3x optical zoom lens. Both of these phones definitely take great pictures, but if photos are what you care about, the Pixel 6 definitely takes the cake. When inspecting the photos closely, you can definitely see that the Pixel has more natural colors and more detail, while the Samsung tends to lean on the warmer side with more contrast as well, which really depends on the situation to look good. That being said, the Pixel 6 does have inconsistency problems with white balance in daylight, which doesn't really happen with the S20 FE. As for night photos, thanks to the larger sensor and better processing on the Pixel 6, night photos come out dramatically better on the Pixel, while the S20 FE photos are just soft and noisy with inconsistent colors. When it comes to the ultrawide cameras, the S20 FE definitely has a much wider field of view, which leads to more dramatic photos, but it does lack some detail compared to the Pixel 6. The one part where the S20 FE has an advantage is zoom. This phone has a 3x optical zoom camera, which can go up to 30x digitally, and it's surprisingly good. Despite the Pixel having a super resolution algorithm, it's no match for physical hardware. As for the selfie cameras, photos come out looking sharper on the Pixel with better color processing. That's not the case, however, with video, as Samsung can shoot up to 4K 60 on the selfie camera, while the Pixel is capped at 1080p. The portrait video mode is also surprisingly great for vlogging on the Samsung. As for video from the main sensor, I do have to say that video is better on the S20 FE as well. There's more dynamic range and a sharper image compared to the Pixel 6. The stabilization also has slightly less jitters, which can be seen on the Pixel. So overall, if you really care about taking photos, the Pixel 6 will definitely be worth it for you. I actually posted a blind photo comparison on Twitter to see what people like better, and the Pixel 6 does edge out the S20 FE slightly, but as I said, it's a matter of personal preference. So now that we've compared everything about both of these phones, which one should you go for? If you compare the prices brand new, there's only around $100 difference between the two. The Pixel 6 is your device if you care about hardware and camera experience, and it's better for the long term as well. But there's also the fact that the software is not usable right now. If you're okay with dealing with bugs and trust Google's abilities to fix them in the future, then I would say go for it. Otherwise, if you just want a reliable, safe phone, save your money and go with the S20 FE. You'll have a much better experience with it, and Samsung's trade-in value for their own phones are just amazing as well, so you can really retain the value of it. There's also the S21 FE, which Samsung has dropped the price of to $599, which makes it the exact same price as the Pixel 6. If you're planning on buying brand new and not on a carrier, that might be a good choice to look at, as it does offer some improvements in performance and cameras. Alright, that's it for this little comparison video. Hopefully I helped you make a good purchase decision today, and feel free to leave any questions you guys have for me down below in the comments. I'll definitely get back to you when I can. Thanks for watching the video, and don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button for more awesome content. Stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.